Dear students, welcome you all to EME. EME stands for Education Made Easy. The aim of this academy is to teach you all the science subjects of class 11 and class 12 in the easiest and the simplest way. We teach in such a way that you get an in-depth knowledge and complete understanding of a given topic or a given chapter. It prepares you to face any or every kind of questions that may be put up to you in board exams or in your competitive exams. I am DS. DS stands for, we will keep it anonymous, you can call me DS Sir. Students, I have been making videos on specific topics of science. One fine day, I decided that I should cover whole of the CBSE syllabus of class 11 and class 12, covering all the science subjects. I will be starting with class 11 chemistry. Before I start, I wish you all a very bright future. May your dreams come true. The trick to achieve these dreams is only one, that is hard work. So, work hard and work hard. The first chapter of class 11 chemistry is the basic concepts of chemistry, and let us start with this chapter. In this chapter, we will be basically learning three things. One, definition of chemistry. Secondly, we will be knowing about the history of chemistry, means how chemistry developed as a science over a period of time. We will be learning certain terms which we will be using for calculation purposes in chemistry. Since these terms will be used throughout the syllabus of class 11 and class 12, in that sense, this chapter is very important. So, what is chemistry? Chemistry is a science, is a branch of science whose aim is to create new substances. So, chemistry is branch of science of creating new substances. These new substances are further used to make a wide range of products. They are used in medicines, to rockets, to computers, and even things which help to control environmental pollution. So one can understand how chemistry helps in creating a wide range of products. In that sense, chemistry plays a central role in all branches of science. Now, how can we create new substances? We can create new substances only by understanding the available substances. And these available substances are as a whole called matter. So, chemistry is study of matter. Study of matter. Now, how can we understand matter? Matter can be understood by knowing about its constituents and their properties. Means how the constituents of matter reacting, breaking, combining. So, chemistry can be defined as a study of constituents of matter and their properties. Study of constituents of matter and their properties. What are the constituents of matter? Atoms are the basic building blocks of matter. So, chemistry is the study of atoms and molecules and their transformations. So the most acceptable and scientific definition of chemistry is the study of atoms and molecules and their transformations. Let us now understand the history of chemistry. Chemistry started long ago. It started when man, including women, started dreaming of possessing two things. They were philosopher's stone and the other was elixir of life. Elixir of life. Philosopher's stone is also called Paras in Hindi. It is believed that it is a stone which can transform any metal into gold just by touching. Elixir of life, in Hindi it is called Amrit. It was a chemical which was thought to bring immortality to man. So with these two dreams in mind, man started knowing and understanding matter and started creating new things. By 1300s to 1600s, two studies were popular. They were alchemy. This study dealt with the process of creating new substances, new elements, creation of new elements. Second was iotrochemistry. Iotrochemistry dealt with development of chemicals which were used for curing diseases, illnesses. Curing diseases. After 1600, these two studies combined and a new branch of science came into being, which we today known as chemistry. So this is a small history of chemistry. Before we proceed further, let us also have a look at the contribution of India towards the development of chemistry. When we talk of contribution of India towards the development of chemistry, the most famous name that comes to mind is of Sage Kannada. Sage Kannada was the first man on earth to say that matter is made up of small indivisible particles. He called them Parmanu. So, matter is made of indivisible particles called Parmanu. He also said that these Parmanus combine by some mysterious forces and they can combine in doublets or triplets. means दो परमाणु या तीन परमाणु can combine to create new substances, different substances. So in a way he was talking about atoms and molecules. So he said that these parmanus combine in doublets and triplets. He also said that these parmanus are different in different substances. Means different substances have different types of parmanus. Different substances have different parmanus. These things he said long before Dalton's atomic theory, which came into being in 1800s. Then there was another sage, he was sage Charak. He dealt with chemicals to cure diseases. He used to use bhasmas of certain metals. Bhasmas of certain metals. These bhasmas we nowadays know as nanoparticles of matter. Nanoparticles. Then there was a sage, Varahamira. Varahamira. He dealt in cosmetics and perfumes. Cosmetics and perfumes. Then there was another sage called Kautilya, who wrote Arthashastra. He explained about the different methods of fermentation of liquor, alcohols. Fermentation of alcohol. Then there was a sage called Chakrapani. He is famous for having invented soap. He made soap with the help of mustard oil and some alkalis. Mustard oil plus alkalis. He is also known for discovering a new substance called mercury sulfide. Mercury sulfide. There were many other sages who contributed a lot to the development of chemistry in olden times in India. By 1800s, Britishers came to India and Western science became more popular. The contribution of India towards chemistry has been given in detail in your NCERT book. You should at least read it once. It is very interesting reading. Let us start now with matter. Matter is anything and everything that we see around or observe all around us. In science, matter is defined as something that has mass and occupies space. Matter, as we observe all around us, exists in three forms: solid, liquid and gas. Liquid and gas. Now solids are those substances whose particles are very closely packed. They cannot move, but they can vibrate. So closely packed particles which can vibrate but cannot move. Liquids are those substances whose particles are not very closely packed and they can move as well as vibrate. So particles loosely packed and can vibrate as well as move. Particles of gas are almost free and they can vibrate and move at high speeds. Solids have no fluidity. They cannot flow. Liquids have fluidity, they can flow, while gases are highly fluid. Solids have definite shape and definite volume. Definite shape and definite volume. Gases have definite volume but no definite shape. They acquire the shape of the container in which they are placed. Gases have neither a definite shape nor a definite volume. The three forms of matter are interconvertible, means solid can change into liquid and liquid can change into gas. This can happen in reverse direction also. Gas can change into liquid and liquid into solid, or even solid can directly change into gas and gas into solid. But this can happen only when there is change in certain conditions in the surroundings. These conditions are temperature for T and pressure for P. So whenever there is change in temperature and pressure in the surroundings, forms of matter can change from one form into another form. To study matter or anything in chemistry or science, the first thing required is classification. At macroscopic level, matter has been classified into two groups: pure substances and mixtures. Pure substances and mixtures. Pure substances are those substances whose constituent particles are similar in chemical nature. So its constituent particles have similar chemical nature. Mixtures are those substances which are formed by mixing two or more pure substances. So the components of mixture do not have similar chemical nature because of course they are made of two or more different pure substances. So mixtures made of two or more different substances. Constituent particles of pure substances have a fixed composition. So constituent particles have fixed composition. Composition of components of mixtures is variable. Now in case of mixtures, constituent particles are called components. So components of mixtures have variable composition. Constituents of pure substances cannot be separated by physical methods like hand picking or filtration, distillation, while the components of mixture can be separated by these physical methods. So pure substances cannot be separated by physical methods. Not. Pure substances have further been classified, and similarly mixtures also have been further classified. Pure substances have been classified into two groups: elements and compounds. Elements are those substances which are made of only one type of atoms. For example, hydrogen gas. Now hydrogen gas consists of all the hydrogen atoms. So elements consist of one type of atoms. Compounds are those substances which are composed of two or more different types of atoms. For example, water, H2O. It consists of hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms. Both are of different types. So compounds consists of two or more different types of atoms. Mixture
is classified into two groups. One is called homogeneous mixture and the other is called heterogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous. Homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures in which the components are mixed such that they are uniformly distributed in the given mixture. For example, sugar solution. If you add sugar to water and you dissolve it, the sugar spreads evenly over the whole solution. So sugar solution is an example of homogeneous mixture. So homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures whose components are uniformly distributed. Heterogeneous mixtures are those mixtures whose components are not uniformly distributed. For example, you take a mixture of sand and sugar. So it will not be having a uniform composition. Components not having uniform compositions. To understand matter, we have to understand the properties of each type of matter. So our next topic will be to know about the properties of matter. Every substance has unique properties. These properties can be classified into two groups: physical properties and chemical properties. So each substance has unique properties. And these properties can be classified as physical properties and chemical properties. Physical properties are those properties of a substance which can be observed without changing its composition. For example, odor or smell. You can observe smell without causing any change in a given substance. You can also consider melting point, boiling point. These are all physical properties. So physical properties can be observed without changing the composition. Chemical properties are those properties which can be observed only when there is change in composition of a substance. The composition of a substance changes and that change is called a chemical change. Or you can also say that chemical properties can be observed only when a new substance is formed from a given substance. For example, combustibility. How much combustible a substance is, you can understand only by burning it. So when you burn a substance, a new substance is created and thus you will be able to observe that chemical property called the combustibility. So chemical properties are those properties which can be observed only when there is chemical change in a given substance. Now what is this observation? In science, observation is done by measurements and experimentations. In this chapter, we will be learning about measurements of physical properties. So let us start measurements of physical properties. Measurements are also of two types: quantitative measurements and qualitative measurements. So measurements are either quantitative or qualitative. Quantitative measurements are those measurements which can be expressed by numerals. So they can be expressed by numerals. For example, length. You can express length of anything by a number or numeral. Suppose say 6, and these measurements are always followed by a unit. That is, in this case we call it meter. So 6 is a number or numeral and meter is its unit. So quantitative measurements are expressed by a numeral and a unit attached to it. Qualitative measurements cannot be expressed by numerals and they can only be observed by experimentations. So they can be only observed by experimentation. In this chapter, we will be concentrating on quantitative measurements. In earlier times, there were two systems used for measurements. The systems of measurements were English system and the metric system. In English system, measurements were expressed in foots and pounds. Measurements in foots and pounds. In metric systems, measurements were expressed in meter, kilogram or liters. Meter, kilogram and liters. English system did not use decimals in its measurements, while metric system used the decimal system. So decimals were not used in English system. Decimals not used. In metric system, decimals were used in measurements. English system was popular in England, while metric system was popular in France. In 1960, an international conference was held which was called CGPM. Its full form is in French, you need not learn it. So this conference decided that a uniform system of measurements should be applicable all over the world. So a new system was adopted which was called SI system. SI's full form is also in French, so you need not learn its full form. This SI system was mainly based on metric system. So let us now understand what is SI system. SI system specifies 7 fundamental physical quantities. So SI system mentions 7 fundamental physical quantities. These fundamental physical quantities are: first is length, second is mass, third is time, fourth is temperature, fifth is electric current. Sixth is amount of substance. And the seventh is luminous intensity. They have also been assigned symbols. Length is expressed by small l, mass by small m, time by small t, temperature by capital T, electric current by I, amount of substance by small n, and luminous intensity by I and a small v. SI system prescribes a unit for each of these quantities. This unit is called base unit. So SI system specifies 7 fundamental physical quantities and 7 base units. So what are the base units? For length, base unit is meter. For mass, base unit is kilogram. For time, it is second. For temperature, it is Kelvin. For electric current, it is ampere. For amount of substance, it is mole. And for luminous intensity, it is candela. They have also been assigned symbols. Meter is expressed by M, kilogram by kg, second by S, Kelvin by K, ampere by A, mole by mol, and candela by C and small d. SI system prescribes these 7 physical fundamental quantities and 7 base units. So what about the other physical quantities? Take for example density, volume, speed. For that, SI system prescribes a special method. It says that these other physical quantities can be derived from the given fundamental physical quantities. And similarly, their units can also be derived from the given base units. So these derived physical quantities have units which are called derived units. Let's have a look at these derived units. Consider a physical quantity, speed. Now speed is defined as distance upon time. SI system states that distance can be defined in terms of length and time will remain as it is because it is given as a fundamental physical quantity. Now length has a unit of meter and time has a unit of second. So speed will have the units of meter per second. So it will be called a derived unit. Let us consider one more example, density. Now what is density? Density is mass upon volume. Now mass is a basic physical quantity. Volume can be expressed as side ka cube, you know. That can be expressed in terms of length cube. Now mass has a unit of kilogram while length has a unit of meter. So the unit of density comes out to be kilogram meter ki power minus 3. So this is again will be called a derived unit. Another important aspect of SI system is that SI system prescribes definition for each base unit. This definition of any base unit ensures that accuracy of the base unit is maintained. So definition ensures accuracy of base unit. Accuracy of base unit is important because base unit act as a standard. For example, take 1 meter. Now 1 meter is the base unit. If I take 6 meter, it means 6 times 1 meter. Suppose 1 meter has an inaccuracy of 0.5%. The 6 meter will have an inaccuracy of 3.0%. 0.5 multiplied by 6. So in that way, inaccuracy will increase. So to maintain the standard of the base units, definitions have been prescribed for all these 7 base units by SI system. I will explain with an example. The definition of meter is 1 meter, I should say. Definition of 1 meter is the length of path covered by light in vacuum in 1 upon 299,792,458 seconds. So the light covers the length or the distance in this fraction of second is considered to be 1 meter distance covered by light. Similarly, definition of each unit has been prescribed in your book. You can go through them and you must have a reading of the definitions of all these base units. Another very important aspect of SI system is the use of prefixes. In chemistry, we deal with very big numbers or with very small numbers. To represent these numbers easily and conveniently, SI system prescribes a method of using prefixes. Prefix means anything that is added before something. In SI system, prefixes have been prescribed which can be added before a unit, and they represent either multiples of unit or sub-multiples of unit. So, prefixes represent multiples of a given unit or sub-multiples of a given unit. Sub-multiples. Let me explain it with an example. The distance of Mars from Earth is 54 with 9 zeros meter. And the average size of an atom is considered to be 1 upon, again 1 with 9 zeros meter. To write these big numbers conveniently, I will make use of a prefix. Here I can write 54 gigameter. I have used a word giga before meter. So giga is a prefix. And 1 giga represents 10 to the power 9 meters. These prefixes have got symbols also. So I can write it like this: 54 GM. G is the symbol for giga. Similarly, if we take the case of some multiple of a unit, I can here write 1 nanometer. Nanometer. Nano is again a prefix, and 1 nano represents 10 to the power minus 9 meter. It can be represented by a symbol. I can write 1 nm. N stands for nano. SI system prescribes 20 prefixes. They have been given in your book. I will tell you a short trick to learn them. For defining prefixes, we use 10 to the power 0 as a base. So 10 to the power 0 is equal to 1. So anything that has 0 as its power is always equal to 1. The prefixes start from 10 to the power minus 24 and go up to 10 to the power 24. Of course, this is plus 24. What you are to do is that you are to reduce this exponent each time by 3 and you will get a new prefix. So 10 to the power minus 24, the next prefix will be of the order 10 to the power minus 21, then 10 to the power minus 18, 10 to the power minus 15, 10 to the power minus 12, 10 to the power minus 9, 10 to the power minus 6, 10 to the power minus 3. After minus 3, reduce it by 1. 10 to the power minus 2 and then 10 to the power minus 1. Here also reduce 24 by 3 each time. Next will be 10 to the power 21, 10 to the power 18, 10 to the power 15, 10 to the power 12, 10 to the power 9, 10 to the power 6, 10 to the power 3. After 3 again you have to reduce the power by just 1. So 10 to the power 2 and last one will be 10 to the power 1. These prefixes have been prescribed names and symbols. 10 to the power minus 24 is called yocto. 10 to the power minus 20 is jecto. 10 to the power minus 18 is atto. 10 to the power 15 is femto. 10 to the power minus 12 is pico. 10 to the power minus 9 is nano. 10 to the power minus 6 is micro. 10 to the power minus 3 is milli. 10 to the power minus 2 is centi. And 10 to the power minus 1 is deci. 10 to the power 24 is iota, 21 is zeta, 18 is ixa, 15 is peta, 12 is tera, 9 is giga, 6 is mega, 10 ki 3 is kilo, 2 is hecto, and 1 is deca. So these are 20 prefixes prescribed in SI system. You need not learn all of them, but some of them are very important and you should imbibe them. These important ones are femto, pico, nano, micro, milli. Here it is tera, giga, mega, kilo, hecto and deca. Here we come to the end of this video. Before I close, let me revise what we have learnt. In this chapter, we started with definition of chemistry. Then we learnt about history of chemistry, the development of chemistry over a period of time. Then we understood about matter and we got to know about its 3 forms. For understanding matter, we have to understand the properties, and these properties were physical properties and chemical properties. These properties to be defined require measurements, and for measurements we learnt about the SI system and various aspects of SI system, which included study of base units as well as prefixes. In the next video, we will learn more about the basic concepts of chemistry. By that time, best wishes and do work hard. Thank you.